Hi, I'm Sean Langton from Vix Technology, where I'm the Chief Technology Officer. I'm going to talk to you about an initiative we've run recently to transform our data architecture using Snowflake technology. I'll tell you a little bit about Vix, what we do, where we do it. I'll talk about our customers, and then I'll talk about the initiative we ran, the context, the problem we were trying to solve, and the outcomes that we achieved. But importantly, what I'll really focus on is a couple of the core principles that helped us to achieve those outcomes. I've done a lot of data programs in my career, and I can say hand on heart, this was the most successful one that I've achieved in my whole career. And I think it's because we stuck to these really core principles. So I'll focus on what really made it work, and then we'll talk about what we achieved. So Vix are a technology company, and we deliver transport ticketing solutions or automated fare collection technologies. So what you can see in the right of the picture there in the yellow is one of our validators. So that's a piece of hardware that we design and make, and that captures information when you tap your card or your phone that allows you to open the gate to get onto a train platform, or maybe a validator sitting on a bus or on a platform somewhere, and allows your fare to be calculated and your account to be debited or your card to be debited. So we make the hardware, we make the software that runs on that hardware, but most of what we do is the back office system, which we call Pulse, which provides all of the technology that underpins that. We've been doing this for over 30 years now. It's all we do, so we specialize in this domain, and we've delivered into over 200 cities around the world. I'm based in Perth, Western Australia, which is the little pink dot down in the bottom right corner there. But we have teams in offices all around the world, in Europe, in France and Slovakia and the UK, as well as in North America, in Canada, and in Denver and Seattle. And some of the cities that we're currently working with and operating in are typically your medium-sized cities around the world. So cities like Dallas, like Manchester, Rome, Stockholm, Oslo, Melbourne, Dublin. Beijing, I think, is at the higher end of the cities that we've operated within. So let's start the story with the platform that we've been building for the last few years. So Pulse is our next generation automated fare collection technology platform. It's a cloud-based platform that runs in the Amazon Web Services cloud, and it's a cloud-native application. We produce a rich set of features, so you can see them listed there. We essentially run all of the services for a transit agency, from managing the payment schemes that they operate within, their customer management tools to allow their passengers to update their records or look at their travel histories. We provide financial management tools to allow them to clear and settle the accounts of their operators. We manage tokens and issuing of cards and various types of token, and we deliver the tools to do the fare validation on the devices, and then we manage those devices. So it's a very, very broad platform and very, very rich in its features. However, like a lot of applications and platforms in their kind of early generations, it's what I would call data poor. It is not data poor in the sense that there's not a lot of data. There is a lot of data that we collect, and it's very, very valuable data. The first and early generations of the platform are data poor because we've locked that data up in a way that is difficult to access and achieve what our customers need and what our projects need. So the kind of legacy approach, and where we kind of started with some of our reporting and analytics tools in the program, was quite traditional and just won't cut it anymore. Reading data directly from the online transaction processing databases is expensive and it doesn't scale. If you're delivering a system like ours into a city like Beijing, you're processing up to 9 billion transactions per annum. You can't be running queries on that size of data set to do heavy analytics processing or reporting or trend analysis on your live operational database. It's incredibly expensive. It's difficult to develop on, and like I say, it just won't scale. It's also not real time. So the batch architecture that these traditional systems enforce is that you have to run those jobs overnight. So the best you can really achieve is overnight extracts and reporting, so you can look at what happened yesterday. You can't look at what's happening right now. So our initiative was to modernize our approach, and that's all well and good, but I've been here before. I've had, as I said earlier, many data warehouse initiatives, business intelligence initiatives, data modernization programs, big data programs, whatever the latest kind of buzzword, depending on what year it is. And they always start in the same place, which is typically a user requirement that says, just give me the data. I want to use Excel, a tool that most people are familiar with. I want to be able to slice and dice, chart and pivot, and analyze my data using tools I'm familiar with. When push comes to shove, most users want that type of capability. There's a lot of tools that can have a lot of sophistication along the way, but the bottom line is users want their data and they want to be able to analyze it in simple, intuitive ways. However, every initiative I've ever worked on in my career has usually ended up looking something more like this: an unwieldy daisy chain of tools, data, and business rules. That's all for very, very valid reasons. There are a lot of concerns when it comes to managing data: data privacy, data security, data lineage and reconciliation, data modeling and metadata management, the ability to create intuitive querying tools, tools that are at the end user layer, visualizations, business intelligence, data mining, then making sure that data that come from multiple sources all conforms together, not only now, but over historical data sets and into future data sets. Data quality, one of the most fundamental problems that most organizations have that have been around and have legacy technologies, is managing data quality. And you can see what happens when data quality is not there. All sorts of mistakes happen, and the impacts can be quite catastrophic. So there's this huge array of concerns when you start to manage and process data. And they're not easy. They're important. You can't ignore them. But at the same time, if you allow your data initiative and your data modernization platform to try and address all of these concerns, you will very, very quickly see your program blow out and go from your 3-week or 3-month initiative to one that is taking years and many, many millions, if not tens of millions of dollars to deliver. And that's something I've seen in many organizations, like I say, throughout my career, as a lot of these different data concerns emerge and the tooling around them emerge. There is a huge amount of enterprise tools that are out there, and you can drown in them. So we created 2 very, very critical principles that prevented us from drowning in our data and drowning in tooling and considerations that could get in the way of delivering on our objectives. The first one sounds really, really simple. We decided that we need to shift our architecture to put data at the center. That's a really, really significant shift. It sounds fairly trivial, but if you think about modern organizations that have been born in a digital era, the Googles, the Facebooks, and many of the startups that have been born in the cloud, they think about data first and foremost. They then build features to collect and process that data and to give some value to their customers. But they intuitively and inherently recognize the value that is in the data. If you look at and analyze legacy organizations, older institutions that maybe have a lot more legacy technology, they typically put application features and functions to the forefront. And by doing that, you often end up in this scenario where your data is locked up and difficult to access. So putting data at the heart was our first and really important principle. I'll give you an example which I think will help to understand the difference. So one of the features that's very important to our customers is to provide journey planning tools to their customers. So the ability to use, for example, a mobile application to look at a map and work out how you get from A to B, maybe from home to work, using public transport. So what time does the bus arrive? How much is it going to cost me? How long is it going to take me to walk to the bus stop? That, if you look at that through a functional lens or a feature lens, that's pretty much a concern that's been solved with technology. Google Maps is awesome. There are apps. I use one called Transit app, which tells me all of that information and is excellent. So there's a lot of companies that have built tools to do that. And if you really just look at it in terms of how do we get those features to our customers and to their passengers, you could just throw an app at it and be done. However, if you look at it through the data first lens and you really think about where is the value in this feature set, it's in the data that you can collect along the way. So it's not just the ability to tell that passenger what time their bus is going to arrive and how long it's going to take them to get to the bus stop. It's also the insights that as a transit agency you could generate from knowing when the customer is looking for that information. Are they planning their journey the day before or the night before they're about to travel, or are they doing it just in time? How far away and where are they located when they're doing that? Are they optimally positioned in terms of their distance from the bus stop? Should you put in more bus stops? Should you move them to locations that are more suitable to where people are doing their journey planning from? And all sorts of value can be then derived from that data if you collect it. But what you have to start with is what is the value of that data and what can we generate? That data could then lead to insights that could help with not only that passenger's trip planning, but the transit agency's long-term enterprise planning, their planning of where they put bus routes, their planning of where they partner with a mobility service such as Uber or Lyft to offer that last mile journey, and rather than go to all the expense of running a full bus service where there's not many people. Partner with a modern rideshare that could plug the gap. So you start to think very, very differently about the world and about the solutions that we're delivering and the kind of technologies that you deploy when you put data first. And for us, that would probably be the difference between saying there's Google Maps and us embedding Google APIs into the mobile app so that we can collect the data and generate those insights along the way. So that's our first principle, and very, very important, and a very, very significant shift in thinking that we tried to hold at the heart of our initiative. And I'd say we did reasonably successfully, but we still have a long way to go, as I'm sure many organizations do. The second principle is one that as a kind of architecture-minded person is very important to me, which is you absolutely need to minimize the amount of technology that you deploy to achieve that first principle. So it is very, very easy to quickly get caught up in this vast array of enterprise tools that you need to manage data. And if you do that, the problem gets worse, the cost gets bigger, the time to market gets further away, and you end up a long, long way away from being able to put data first. And you get to the point where all you can do is build a lot of application features, but you can never afford to get that data into your warehouse and into that Excel spreadsheet or whatever BI tool or reporting tool your users want to use to actually generate the insights. So we had to have a really, really strong principle around minimizing the technology to just that amount you need. And the important word here is start. We were starting down a journey of transforming and modernizing our data architecture. We can always add more technology into the mix when we need it. We'll never regret starting small and then realizing we need something bigger and adding it in. Much more likely to regret spending 6 months assessing 20 different technologies and doing proof of concepts only to find you don't need them. In that 6 months, you could have been delivering and could have had something in market. So here's what we built using those two principles. So we call it Vix Compass, and it's our modern data platform. So in keeping the technologies light, you can see that we've really only got 2 vendors in there. We have a lot of data sources. So within the Vix Pulse applications, we have Oracle, Postgres, Cassandra, providing application data. We also have Splunk with machine logs. We have Kafka and GTFS providing third-party data feeds. And we actually have more third-party data feeds being added to the platform all the time. We then house that in an AWS data lake using S3 as the storage layer. And we use the Amazon native tools to process that data. Then where Snowflake comes in is in providing a serverless data warehouse. Very, very important to us in providing that second principle of minimizing the technology was having a serverless architecture. So not having to go out and provision enormous amounts of servers and infrastructure upfront meant we didn't have to waste too much time assessing a wide array of different technology architectures, hardware deployments, do a lot of upfront design before we made a big capital investment in some physical on-prem infrastructure or in the cloud started to configure cloud environments. Using serverless really does change the game and mean you can really start to focus on value very early, and that's what we saw. So Snowflake also allowed us to do ELT rather than ELT. So extract and load the data and then transform it when you come to view it and present it through your SQL views, rather than have to write a lot of transformation logic, which is the traditional way of loading data. That also helped us with our speed to market. So Snowflake also provides data access through SQL and APIs. SQL is incredibly important as a language because it's so ubiquitous, so many people are familiar with it. And that meant it really is a user-friendly platform that all of our customers can use and really like. And the API architecture means that we can secure the data as well as open it up to third-party tools and products as required. Then in the final layer, again, we used the simplest and quickest tool available to us, which was AWS QuickSight, to build all of our reports and dashboards in our first iteration of the product. We've then experimented and played with other tools, and we know that our customers also have other analytics tools. So Tableau for visualizations, Spotify, we also did some visualization and videos doing time series data analysis, and Spark and Python for some data science and machine learning. And then Power BI and Excel, as we know, our end users are very, very familiar with those tools. And then finally, I'll talk about some of the outcomes, which, as I said at the beginning, are really, really compelling. And in my view, quite rare and I think attributable to both the principles and the technologies and the partners that we used. So we were able to deliver this at around $500,000 less than the previous approach that we had embarked upon. That was live within 13 weeks. We had our first production customer, and that included all of the design, tool selection, and 7 weeks of development before we had production data in the S3 data lake with Snowflake stood up, providing the SQL access to be able to query that data, and we were building dashboards and demonstrating it to customers. We used a partner called Vix who helped us to deliver that. We had a blended team of Vix people initially and Vix consultants who helped us to achieve that. But we were able to get going really quickly, and we also found that Snowflake was very, very quick and easy to learn. As a result of that serverless architecture, our run costs are a lot lower than had we invested in a lot of upfront infrastructure. And we've been able to extend the platform since then. So we can now add new data sources in around one sprint, which is 3 weeks for us. We can add reports and dashboards in around a day. And importantly, that work is done by our business analysts who are located with our customers. So we can ensure that what we're building gets really quick and rapid feedback that can be turned around instantly, and be sure that we're meeting our customers' expectations. Far, far better outcome than our old way of doing things, which was to write reports that had to run overnight against our OLTP database. But more importantly than that is strategically what this has really delivered for Vix as an organization, which is a platform that is at the heart of our innovation agenda. So we know that going forward, the features that we've built in our Pulse platform are important and they must be there. but they're really table stakes in the industry that we're in. If you don't have them, you can't really sell your product. Data and the ability to innovate with that data, analyze it, is the differentiator. And that will be the currency for innovation. That will be the source for our innovation. And we've built a platform that allows us to build out that future. That then allows us to help businesses optimize. We can use the data that we're collecting along the way, often over many, many years, to do their long-term planning and optimize their business. We can provide data science services. So we can start to explore with our customers all of the potential in that data and build models around it. Moving away from a batch architecture means that we can now provide our data in real time. Not only that, we can provide it into data marketplaces such as the AWS marketplace or the Snowflake marketplace. And that allows us to extend the value of our platform into a partnership ecosystem. So when our customers buy our Pulse platform from us, they're not only buying Pulse, but they can also be buying tools that plug into the data that Pulse collects and processes. And that means that when they invest with us, they're getting access to a lot of value. It also means that we can partner with best of breed companies who can build all sorts of different integrations and mobile experiences and various other innovations that are not our kind of bread and butter. So very, very important for Vix strategically in terms of what we've been able to achieve. And then most importantly for our customers, we've been able to move them to real-time insights. And we built this at the start of this year, just before COVID-19 was starting to hit. As it was coming to market, you started to realize how important access to real-time data in our industry is. Our customers had to face sudden drop-off in passenger movements and passenger utilization of public transport when cities went into lockdown almost overnight in many cases. They still had to run their services to operate for essential workers, but their revenue was hit. And then as passengers have started to come back and we've started in many places to achieve COVID normal or different kinds of lockdowns and restrictions and tierings, our customers are having to convince and demonstrate to passengers that it's safe to travel on public transport. You can no longer travel on really jam-packed buses where people are jammed in together next to each other. They have to implement spacing. So our ability to provide real-time insights into passenger movements and locations allows our customers to support a post-COVID world or a COVID normal world. Very, very important for our customers. And then two other really important features. One is our platform integrates to their existing business intelligence tools. A lot of our customers have enterprise data warehouses that they want to pull the data into. And again, that Snowflake secure API means we can service that need if they don't want to use our out-of-the-box dashboards and reports. And that means that they can also self-serve. If they are already familiar with tools like Tableau or they want to plug Excel into a SQL backend, we can help them to generate their own insights and be self-serving around analytics and meet that very, very common user goal, which is typically expressed as, I just need to get to the data. So that's the end of my talk. Thank you. And just to summarize and wrap up, we've had a very, very interesting and exciting journey with Snowflake and our other partners in Amazon and Vicent to build this platform. I started out as a skeptic in terms of having seen many, many data transformations and data modernization programs go off the rails and quickly lose sight of their objectives and the ability to turn around and deliver value quickly. We didn't see that with this initiative. We were able to get speed to market and deliver some very, very compelling outcomes in terms of our project requirements, in terms of the strategic platform we're building for Vix, and then the outcomes we're able to achieve for our customers. Thank you.